Story 1. The Vanishing Letter. A form of retaliation isn't demolishing what other people have created but rather creating something better out of the ashes they left behind. My wife disappeared after a girls' trip, and now she's trying to manipulate her way back into my life, acting like nothing ever happened. It's common to hear statements like, "I never saw it coming." That's precisely how it went for me though. I was married to my wife for the entire 4 years that we were together. To be honest, I thought we were doing well for the most part. I believed that we were in agreement and we had plans, a life plan laid out. The problem is that we both desired children, or at least I believe that we both did. As soon as we were married, we began to discuss it seriously. She would constantly express her desire for 2 or 3 children, rambling on about the names we would give them, the nursery decor and everything else. She would even spend time on the internet planning our future children's lives while perusing baby gear and clothing. It kept us connected and was sort of our thing to talk about. We were eager to begin this new chapter in our lives together, and everything appeared to be going according to plan. But after that, we received some terrible news which really devastated me. We visited a doctor to find out what was wrong after a few months of trying to conceive. To cut a long tale short, it was me. The doctor essentially informed us that our chances of naturally becoming parents were very limited because my count was much too low. It felt like a stomach punch. I felt worthless. Our entire set of plans vanished in a flash. I was hit hard, terribly hard, by the news. I ended up for a while in a fairly awful position. I was a complete disaster at first, but therapy ultimately helped. At first, she seemed to be rather supportive, stating that it didn't matter and that she would be content with just the 2 of us. However, there was something strange about the way she said it right from the start. She seemed to have dropped it far too soon. One minute, she was all about starting a family, and then she claimed she didn't need children to be content. I understand that people change their minds, but her entire demeanor seemed strange to me. From thinking about baby names, she had completely stopped talking about children. Furthermore, it seemed as though she began to view me in a different light. She would suddenly start making little jabs at me that she had never mentioned before, like how I wasn't taking care of myself, that I should work out, or that I should be more productive around the house. Yes, I could have gained a few pounds, but it seemed like she was constantly looking for reasons to accuse me. When I questioned her about the abrupt shift in attitude, she would dismiss it. She claimed that I was being overly sensitive and that I was imagining things. But I was aware of a problem. She was different from the woman I married, the one who would spend hours sitting with me discussing our future. She wasn't particularly cruel, but there was a certain coldness about her, as if she had already mentally checked out and was merely playing a role. I suppose that as time went on, I began to trust her when she assured me that everything was okay. In order to avoid coming across as needy or insecure, I stopped pressing. In any case, after a few years we were merely getting by. We had gotten into a pattern where we hardly discussed anything important. We seemed more like housemates than husband and wife. She would always dismiss my attempts to discuss other options, such as adoption or surrogacy, by stating that she didn't want to consider them. I never really believed her when she said, "As long as we're together, I'm happy." She seemed more concerned with persuading herself than with convincing me. Then suddenly she informed me she wanted to take a girls' trip. Now, traveling with her friends was nothing out of the ordinary. She had done it a few times before and I had always encouraged her. This time, she talked about wanting to travel to America with her pals while we lived in Brighton. We had developed this trust over the years, so I didn't give it a second thought. I made sure she had everything she needed, assisted her with packing, and even drove her to the airport. I recall her final words before she departed. She turned to me and said, "Thank you for being so supportive." I found it a little strange that she would say that because I hadn't done anything particularly noteworthy. But she appeared so sincere that I dismissed it as her simply expressing gratitude. I stayed up that night to make sure things went well, calling her when she landed. I kept myself occupied around the house, watching TV, keeping an eye on the time, and waited for her to text me to let me know she had landed. Her flight was expected to take roughly 9 hours. As soon as I noticed her flight had landed, I called her to check in. The phone rang and rang, but there was no answer. I tried to remain calm. Maybe she was still getting off the plane, going through customs, or just too busy to check her phone. But something didn't sit right with me. I sent her a message, "Hey, just checking in. Hope you had a safe flight." Minutes turned into hours and there was no response. By the next morning, panic had started to creep in. I called her again, straight to voicemail. I checked her social media, but there was nothing. Not a single post, not a single update from her or her friends. It was like she had vanished. I reached out to her closest friend, Lisa, who was supposed to be on the trip with her. The call went through and Lisa picked up on the second ring. "Hey, is everything okay?" she asked, sounding normal as if nothing was wrong. "Yeah. I was just wondering if you guys landed safely. I haven't been able to get a hold of my wife." There was a pause just a little too long. Then Lisa laughed awkwardly. "Oh yeah, everything's fine. We're just getting settled. She's probably just tired." It didn't feel right. Something in Lisa's voice made my stomach churn, but I forced a chuckle. "All right, just tell her to text me when she gets a chance." Hours passed. Then a day. Then two. My messages remained unread. Calls went straight to voicemail. Every time I reached out to Lisa or any of her other friends, I got the same vague responses. "She's just busy, she's probably resting, she'll reach out soon." But she never did. By the third day I had called the airline. I needed to know if she had even gotten on that plane. The woman on the other end of the line was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, sir, but due to privacy policies, I can't disclose that information." I felt like I was losing my mind. My wife had left for a trip and had seemingly disappeared. And the worst part? No one else seemed concerned. I spent sleepless nights replaying every interaction we had before she left, searching for clues. Then, on the fifth day, something strange happened. A charge appeared on our joint credit card. A hotel in New York. She was alive. She was somewhere. But she wasn't reaching out to me. I called the hotel immediately, my hands shaking as I held the phone to my ear. "Hi, I'm trying to reach a guest. She may have checked in under her name. Could you transfer me to her room?" The receptionist hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't provide guest information over the phone. I'm her husband. I haven't been able to reach her in days. I just need to know if she's okay." "I understand, sir, but we have strict privacy policies. If you have a message for her, I'd be happy to pass it along." Frustration boiled inside me, but I knew I wasn't getting anywhere. I hung up, staring at my phone, my mind racing. Why hadn't she told me she was going to New York? Who was she with? I considered flying there myself, but something inside me stopped me. Maybe it was denial. Maybe it was fear of what I would find. Instead, I waited, hoping, praying, that she would eventually reach out. But she never did. Then, on the seventh day, a package arrived at my door. There was no return address, no name. Just a plain brown envelope. I tore it open with shaky hands, and inside was a single sheet of paper. My breath caught in my throat as I read the words. "I'm sorry." That was it. 2 words. No explanation. No details. Just an apology. Rage, confusion, heartbreak, all of it hit me at once. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This wasn't a case of a lost phone or a busy schedule. She had left me. And she hadn't even had the courage to tell me in person. The note in my hands felt heavier than it should have. "I'm sorry." 2 words that shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. My wife had disappeared, ghosted me for a week, and now all she had to say was that she was sorry? Sorry for what? For vanishing? For lying? For destroying the life we built together? My heart pounded as I examined the envelope again, desperate for some kind of clue. But there was nothing. No return address, no name, no explanation. Just the cruel simplicity of those words. My mind spun with a million possibilities, each more painful than the last. I wasn't going to let this end here. I went back to the last real trace of her, the hotel in New York. My fingers trembled as I dialed their number again. This time I wasn't asking for permission. "Hi, I need to confirm a booking under her name. I believe she checked in last week." The receptionist hesitated. "I'm sorry, sir, but we can't provide guest." "Listen," I snapped, the desperation in my voice raw. "She's my wife. She disappeared a week ago, and I just received a vague letter from her. I need to know if she's still there. If she's safe." There was a long silence. Then the receptionist sighed. "She checked out 2 days ago." My breath caught in my throat. "Checked out? Do you know where she went?" "I'm sorry, but I don't have that information." I slammed my phone down, frustration and fear warring inside me. She was gone. Again. But why send the note? Was it guilt? The final goodbye? Or was there something more? I spent the next hours digging. I called Lisa again. No answer. I tried her other friends, same thing. It was like everyone had suddenly decided to shut me out. But I wasn't giving up. Then, just as I was about to lose hope, an unknown number lit up my phone screen. I answered immediately. "Hello." Silence. Then a breath. "Stop looking for her." The voice was male. Oh, cold. My blood ran ice cold. "Who is this?" "She doesn't want to be found. Move on." The line went dead. I stood frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear. My mind reeled. Who the hell was that? How did he know I was looking for her? And most importantly, was she in danger? That moment changed everything. This wasn't just my wife running away. There was someone else involved. Someone who wanted me to let go. But they had underestimated me. I traced the credit card transactions again, looking for patterns. A rental car had been charged in New Jersey, 2 days after she checked out of the hotel. My pulse quickened. She was on the move. But was she running from me, or from something worse? I needed answers. And I knew exactly where to start. I booked the next flight to New York. The moment my plane landed, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. My wife was out there, somewhere, and I was about to walk into the unknown to find her. I went straight to the hotel, flashing a fake smile at the receptionist. "I'm meeting my wife here. She was checked in last week. Did she leave anything behind?" The woman tapped at her keyboard. One moment. My heart pounded as she disappeared into a back room. When she returned, she handed me a small manila envelope. This was left at the front desk. No name, just a room number. I stepped outside and tore it open. Inside was a single key. And a note. Room 405. Come alone. Chills ran down my spine. This wasn't over. Not even close. I took the stairs instead of the elevator, each step echoing like a drumbeat in my chest. When I reached the 4th floor, my breath was shallow, my hands clammy. I hesitated at the door before finally inserting the key. The room was dark. Empty. But on the bed was a phone, its screen glowing with a single message. "You don't know the whole story. But you will soon." And just as I reached for it, the door behind me slammed shut. The lights went out. And then, a voice I knew all too well whispered from the shadows. "You shouldn't have come." Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones capable of the deepest betrayal. This story isn't just about loss. It's about resilience, about uncovering the truth even when it hurts. When people disappear from our lives without explanation, we often seek closure, but not every mystery is meant to be solved easily. Strength comes from moving forward, even when answers remain just out of reach. What would you do if you were in this situation? Have you ever experienced something similar? Let's talk about it in the comments. If this story gripped you, don't forget to like, share, and comment. Your support means everything.